Thank you for joining. Today I want to talk about my plant haul. I went to Lowe's and Home Depot today, and I actually didn't like the plants that Lowe's had. I did find a jade plant that was a jade plant mosaic, but it had very visible mealybugs, and so I actually left there not buying anything. So I went over to Home Depot, and the first thing I saw was these Peperomia caparata. They don't tell you what variety they are. They just call them 4-inch foliage. But I had a variety of this, and it was labeled as a Quito. That one didn't survive for me due to the fact that they have very fragile roots, and I didn't know that at the time, and I went to repot it and I broke all of the roots. Yeah, so as soon as I saw these when I walked in, I was very excited. I bought 2 of them because they really weren't very expensive. They were $4.98 each. I am going to put them in, one is going to go on my plant stand near the window where the other one was that seemed to be doing pretty well. And then one is going to go in my terrarium. So one of the other things that I normally do when I buy a plant is I repot it like almost immediately into another pot. But these I'm not going to do that with. And this plant over here that Bandit is sniffing, I bought this for the terrarium as well. It's a Photonia. They're relatively common, very easy to find. This isn't any special variety. I kind of wanted something bright and pretty, but this is cute, and it gives me a place to start, right? I've never had a Photonia before. I don't know if, I hear that they're dramatic. I don't know. I wanted them, and it'll help fill out my terrarium a little bit. And then if it does well, I'm sure I can find some of the more exotic varieties to fill out that terrarium. My goal eventually is to have, 4 or 5, maybe 6 plants in there to help keep up the humidity and to just make that terrarium look really nice. So I'm going to put that in there, and then I'm going to pick one of these Peperomia to put in there. I also found the Sansevieria. I have a golden bird's nest Sansevieria, and since it's doing very well and it's got 2 pups that are growing very quickly, I thought, this one's very cute. I can put that in there up next to it, and I think everything I did for it was good. I'm going to repot that today. I got a couple of different size pots. I don't know, maybe start with a small one, even though, my instinct is I want to throw it in here. That may be way too big, but I'm going to use a chunky mix, and so it's going to drain well. That ought to spread out and look really nice. The other thing I found was this hybrid. It says that it's a Gasteria hybrid ox tongue. It's called a Tiga. Oh, I love it so much. This is so pretty. Like, this is exactly what I would look for and not expect to find. If you recall, I've got a shelf full of Haworthia and a shelf full of all different kinds of Gasteria. So this is a Gasteria hybrid, and I'm going to put it on my Gasteria shelf. It's already got a little pup coming in. It looks like it's a Haworthia hybrid. So pretty. I can't wait. And then I found this one. This looks very similar to my Royal Highness, but it's called Okavango, and it's a type of Gasteria. To me, it looks like a hybrid as well. It doesn't look like a pure Gasteria, but it doesn't really matter precisely. It's so cute. I don't have something like this. Well, actually I have something like this, but it's already got a pup coming in. Just one so far. I'll repot these 2 into a gritty mix, and then put them on my shelf with my other Gasteria, and it should do really well. And then hiding in this tray is this. Okay, so this is not labeled as anything but a green plant. It cost me $4, and I know it's a euphorbia. I've never had a euphorbia before, but when I just kept staring at it, and then I would leave, and then I would stare at it again, and then I would go look at other plants, and I would come back and stare at it again. So I knew that I was attracted to it. I just love the little leaves hanging on there. I know a little bit about euphorbia from watching some of the plant channels. And euphorbia will put on leaves when they're in their growing season, and then when they go dormant, they'll drop their leaves. So this could be a cycle on and off, or maybe in my house under my lights, maybe it will just continue to leaf out. It's just really exciting. Like I don't tend to be a fan of cactuses. And I know technically a euphorbia is not a cactus, but they do have spines on the edge, which give me anxiety. But I saw this and I just, like I said, I stared at it and I came back and I stared at it and I came back again. So I just figured this was meant to be. It's in very organic soil as well. We're going to repot that. I'm going to try very carefully not to get, spined. And we'll put that in a nice gritty mix because I think it's, as a euphorbia, that would probably be better than what it's in. Yeah, wish me luck on this. I've never had one. May not have another one. Or maybe this could be the start of just something miraculous. So, yeah, we'll see. So that's what I did. I also bought this tray. It's an 11-inch tray. It's very sturdy. I used it for two reasons. I used it to put all the plants on so I could take them up to the register. But also because I thought I could put this in the bottom of the terrarium and put rocks in it. And that way it would be a way that I could have somewhat of a layer of drainage that could then create humidity within the cabinet itself, so that you wouldn't see the tray necessarily. You could see the pretty rocks, but it's the water wouldn't lay on the bottom of the tray, but it would lay in this instead. So I thought, I could use it for that reason or some other reasons. And if I like it, I could use it in other places in the plant room. It didn't cost very much. It was about $2, so I figured it was worth a try. So that's what I bought today. I'm just going to turn this around a little bit, get a view from another side. I'm going to pot these up, and I'm going to ask you to wish me luck. Once again, like, this is not going to be repotted. This is not going to be repotted yet. I'm going to leave them in the nursery pots just because I don't know what the root structure is, and I think that they'll do fine for now in the nursery pots. Bandit appears to be very fascinated with the Photonia. Luckily, that is going in the terrarium, and he won't have access to it because I don't know why it smells so good. And he might choose to take a chunk out of it. I understand they have some. I think they are considered pet friendly, but don't intentionally want to buy a plant that a cat wants to eat. Not unless it's for them specifically. So yeah, I can't wait to get that in the terrarium and kind of get that away from him. At one point I thought he was attracted to the euphorbia, which he definitely can't have, but it's the Photonia. He's loving how that smells. So I let this be a warning to people with your Photonias. Look at the fascination he's having with this plant. He never, ever does that with plants. So this is the final result. This plant, I actually had to soak this a little bit because the roots were fragile and the potting medium that it was in had dried so much that it was like concrete. So I don't think that's always the right thing to do, but I soaked the medium and then I got as much off the roots as possible. What I found is there are a lot more pups hiding under these leaves than I suspected. Tons and tons of them. This is incredible. So I can't wait to see what it does. Now, one of the things I had to do was get that potting medium off of the plant, and therefore it might cause a little bit of root trauma and require some acclimation. These are hardy plants in general, so I'm not too concerned. Of the amount of Gasteria and Haworthia that I've grown, I've only accidentally killed one. and I think it was due to root rot. I must have watered it too much. The roots rotted, it couldn't take up hydration, and it perished. I tell you all that to say that, yes, I had to soak this plant. Yes, I caused a little bit of root trauma, but I'm not really concerned that I'm going to lose it. This plant I didn't have to soak. The roots were extremely hardy, and the potting medium, while it was a little too peaty for the type of plant it is, it came out really easily. I did still only find the one pup, and so we'll see how that does. It's such a cute little plant. I mean, I kind of knew what it was when it was on the shelf, and I reached back and I grabbed it, and it was pokey. It really feels like some of the Gasteria hybrid I have that are very, very pokey. The fact that it's got a different name just adds to the collector's appeal. It feels like sometimes you have a type of plant you like, and every time you see a new name, you feel like, oh, I have to have that plant because I don't have that plant. When I may actually have something very much similar to this anyway. This one I potted in this size pot because it's still relatively small. It's in like a chunky aeroidy kind of mix like my other one. So I think this will do well. I'm going to put it up next to the other Sansevieria I have, and they can be buddies. It's a little beat up. This leaf was damaged and already broken, so I just took the rest of it off. And so I expect good things from this plant in the future. And the last plant is the Euphorbia. This looked like it was in a big pot, but they had potted it pretty much up to here. So I took the soil off, and there's just like a tiny little root ball in there. And then I put it up here so it gets a lot of light. It's a variegated plant. It's now in gritty soil. The medium it was in was pretty wet when I bought it, so I'm not going to water it today, and we will hope for the best. This is an unusual plant for me to like, so I hope that it does well, and it could be a gateway plant to future Euphorbia. There are definitely different kinds of Euphorbia out there that interest me. And, you know, since I'm here, in the background what you'll see is my Echeveria texensis. This is like the third bloom that this plant has had. This is it's in really not great potting soil. I've been bottom watering it. It's got 2 pups in there, and it just keeps blooming and blooming and blooming for me. So as much as I talk bad about Echeveria, I think I might have discovered the formula, at least for that particular plant. And so lastly, I just wanted to get a shot of the peperomia and the Fittonia in the terrarium. So this is going to be their new home. Right now they are still in their nursery pots. They may stay there for some time. You can see I've got plenty of space, and I'd like to fill out the space with maybe more Fittonia. And I really only put the peperomia in there because I bought 2, and that'll give me an opportunity to experiment on placement. Do they prefer this kind of a setup, or are they okay being out with the other plants? And then my other peperomia is here. I had my other Quito here at one point, and it seemed to like it. What it will happen on the days that I get sun is that it will get a tiny little bit of sun during the day, and not much at all, but it'll get some ambient light from the window. It'll get ambient light from the plant lights, and it won't have a lot of humidity because this room doesn't have a lot of that. So we'll see how that all goes. That's it for today. I want to thank you all for joining. Have a good rest of your day.